Heading into the All-Star break here, here's a few hitters I look to sell this week. The first guy, Matt Carpenter, the New York Yankees. So Matt Carpenter, one of the hottest pickups in fantasy baseball over the last few weeks here. And what a resurgence he's had. And I mentioned him on the pickup list early in the week here. So if you haven't checked that video out, go check it out. But I've mentioned this in a lot of videos as well. If you could pick up a player and flip him for a good pitcher or something of more consistency, you go out there and get it, do it. So right here on the season, Carpenter, 13 home runs, 34 RBIs, 23 runs scored, 354 batting average, and a 469 on base on the season here, and only 79 at bats. So his career looked over after the Texas Rangers cut him early in the season, and also after he struggled the last few seasons with the Cardinals. But right here, he's had a resurgence with the Yankees. And this guy, he's playing out of his mind right now. But obviously, these numbers aren't going to stick. Hitting over 350 and having an on-base almost at 500 on a few games here for Carpenter. July 10th at Boston, 2 for 3, a homer, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored. July 13th versus the Reds, 0 for 1. July 14th versus the Reds, 1 for 3, a homer, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored. July 15th versus Boston, 2 for 3. July 16th with a ball game, 2 for 4, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, 3 runs scored. And July 17th versus the Red Sox, 1 for 4 with a run and 3 RBIs. So Carpenter in the last 4 games here, he's been on a tear with 12 RBIs, and obviously that's not going to stick. And he's not a guy that's going to keep up this pace. So right now, while he qualifies at first, second, and outfield, good versatility for fantasy, and a guy who's white hot. Like I mentioned, one of the best plays in fantasy baseball over the last few weeks. It's a perfect time to sell him high and get a good starting pitcher or a different type of bat in a deal for him. The next guy is Marte of the Arizona Diamondbacks. So Marte last season had his breakout year with the D-backs. And this season, it hasn't been all that great, I believe, here. 8 home runs, 29 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, 45 runs scored, a 271 average, and a 363 on base. So his on base, I like at the 363. Batting average, not like it was last season where he hit 318 at 271 this year. And he's not really stealing bases once again this year. But over the last few weeks here, he's playing good baseball as Marte. 3 homers, 4 RBIs, 8 runs scored, 324 average, and a 457 on base. I don't think you're going to have trouble selling Marte high at all here. Qualifies at second base, which is obviously one of the weakest positions in fantasy baseball once again this season here. And he's a guy that's just swinging for the fences, I feel like, a lot. And he hasn't had much success at doing that as well this season. July 10th versus the Rockies, 1 for 3 with a homer. July 11th at the Giants, 1 for 4 with a run. July 13th at the Giants, 2 for 4 with a homer. July 15th at San Diego, 3 for 4, a homer, 2 runs scored. July 16th at San Diego, 0 for 4. And July 17th at San Diego, 1 for 5. So right here, Marte playing good baseball, showing some power of late. Batting average is definitely bumped up considering where he was in May with that average at 230 at best it was. But right now, well, he's playing good baseball and he qualifies at a weak position and also plays in a weak lineup while he's hitting. This is a time to sell him off, and you either get a starting pitcher or a different type of hitter as well, I would believe, in a deal for him. The next guy is Gavin Lux of the Los Angeles Dodgers, so one of the former top prospects in the Dodger system a few seasons ago. And another guy who really hasn't lived up to the hype, in my opinion, is Lux on the season. Only 4 home runs, 22 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, 46 runs scored, a 292 average, and a 369 on base. But over the last couple weeks here, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 6 runs scored, a 323 average, and a 462 on base here. So Lux, another guy very versatile, second short in outfield. But he's just a guy I really can't count on. I know he plays in the Dodger lineup where he's got a lot of protection and he's going to see a lot of good pitches with all those other guys getting pitched around or pitches being careful, and Lux getting a lot of fastball counts and stuff like that, especially batting ninth here in Los Angeles. But I just haven't been a fan of him. He hasn't lived up to the hype like I mentioned. And right now, well, he's hitting the baseball a little bit. I think you could either trade him for a closer or a 4th or 5th starter this week. July 10th versus the Cubs, 2 for 3 with 2 runs and a rib. July 12th at the Cardinals, 0 for 1. July 13th at the Cardinals, 0 for 3. July 14th at the Cardinals, 1 for 3, a homer, 2 ribs, and a run. July 15th at the Angels, 0 for 3 with a run. And July 16th at the Angels, 0 for 3 with a run. So right now, while he's playing pretty decent, Even though I know Lux has been struggling over the last couple games here, this would be a time to deal him at the All-Star break before he comes out after the break and he doesn't get much going, and you're just going to drop him and not at least try to trade him and get something of decency for him in a deal. The next guy is Polanco with the Minnesota Twins. So Polanco got off to a hot start early in the season, and now he's fizzled out a little, but the numbers are still pretty decent. 14 home runs, 48 RBIs, 41 runs scored, a 245 average, and a 352 on base. And over the last couple weeks here, 5 homers, 9 RBIs, 11 runs scored, 286 average, and a 479 on base. A very good numbers there for Polanco. And last season, what a year it was for him with the 270 average, 33 and 98 with 11 stolen bases. But this year, he's not going to finish with 30 home runs, I believe. RBIs, I don't think he's going to reach 98 as well. And even the stolen bases are down, only with 3 on the season, and the average is down. I know over the last few weeks he's picked things up here as Polanco, and maybe he's ready to break out, but from what we've seen from him most of the season here, he's just not a guy I could count on. And he's another guy that qualifies at second and short, weak position. So last few games here for Polanco. July 10th at Texas, 0 for 2 with 2 runs. July 12th versus Milwaukee, 2 for 3, a homer, and RBI, 2 runs scored. July 13th versus Milwaukee, 0 for 4 with a run. July 14th versus the White Sox, 0 for 3. July 15th versus the White Sox, 1 for 2. And July 16th versus the White Sox, 2 for 4, a homer, 3 RBIs. And July 17th, 0 for 2 for the White Sox. So Polanco, he's been finding the power of late here. The batting average has gone up, but like I mentioned, I don't see it keeping up this much longer here for Jorge Polanco at these levels, especially with the on base over 380 over the last few weeks here. So I would sell him high, and I think you get a great starting pitcher in a deal for him in the 5th and final hitter. I look to sell and trade this week's here, Andrew Vaughan of the Chicago White Sox. It's been a type of a breakout year kind of here for Vaughan, considering his numbers from last season to this season. 10 home runs, 48 RBIs, 36 runs scored, a 301 average, and a 350 on base. And over the last few weeks, he had 3 homers, 12 RBIs, 9 runs scored, 304 average, and a 347 on base. So Andrew Vaughan, he's showing some pop. Last season, only 15 and 48. He's already matched his RBIs in half a season than he did last year. And he's been a good guy here. He's been good in the Chicago White Sox lineup, batting second or third usually. July 10th versus Detroit, 0 for 4. July 12th at Cleveland, 2 for 7, 3 runs scored in a doubleheader. July 13th at Cleveland, 0 for 4 with a rib. July 14th in Minnesota, 2 for 5, homer, 2 RBIs in that one. July 15th in Minnesota, 2 for 4 with 2 ribs. July 16th at Minnesota, 2 for 4, 2 RBIs. And July 17th at Minnesota, 3 for 4 with a homer and 3 RBIs. So right here, playing great baseball is Vaughan, hitting 393 over the last week of action as well with 2 homers and 10 RBIs. And right now, most of these guys I've mentioned on this list, if you're looking for starting pitching, I think they could get you either a 3rd or 4th starter for your rotation this week, flipping a Vaughan for a decent starter out there on the trade block in your league. A guy could go 5-6 innings, have a decent ERA, mid-3s or 4s. That's what you're going to try to aim for while trading some of these hitters. So that's a few hitters I look to trade here before the All-Star break ends this week in fantasy baseball.